What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to just hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is down 3.04%, 583 the low, $6 the high, and somewhat okay volume. So 28.06 million shares being traded, 55.6 is the average. So today overall is just very lackluster, and there really hasn't been that much in macro data coming from China. In the States, we've had some data early this morning, so ADP weekly and also initial jobless claims, kind of signaling some more cracking coming from consumers. So as per usual, NIO is getting influenced by algorithmic trading, which is rather unfortunate. And there really hasn't been that much in news associated to NIO. So no press releases, no SEC filings, and interestingly enough, no weekly registration numbers. So I don't think they're going to be released today. So I don't know what the reason for that is, but generally the market is kind of pushing NIO a little bit lower. Only thing that really came out, I guess, from my video yesterday to today was this. So Firefly right-handed model hits production line, and ultimately the first batch is going to be heading to Singapore. This is kind of what they mentioned earlier on in the year, back in April, although kind of signals that they are behind the gun for the most part, because it does say that initially the right-handed version is going to be ready by October. So not the greatest, but at the end of the day, as long as they hit their Q4 numbers, that's all the market's really going to be caring about. And with their earnings coming up next week, that's going to be the guidance that also Wall Street really does pay attention to. So aside from that though, I think this is going to be a pretty good thing. And with them initially delivering to Singapore, that's going to be their primary, but I think them kind of transitioning to the UK would be also a big catalyst, because Firefly has been really focusing on Europe, right? We've seen a lot of news about expansion in various areas, but where big money is in the UK. So I think overall, once they do kind of send out the first batch to Singapore, then you'll have some news about expansion to the UK. I think that will be a pretty big catalyst that the market will love and really buy up. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. At the time doing this video, shorts are increasing 4.04 million shares. So even during my pre-market video, shorts were starting to increase. So I think they're trying to really hit NIO hard and ensure that it doesn't get over a key kind of pivot point. So I'll go over that in a second, but 11.58% of the free floats being shorted works out to be 160.23 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow minimum is back at being positive. So whatever brokers out there were paying people to short NIO, that seems to have stopped momentarily. DTC sitting at 1.98 days. So that's starting to inch up a little bit. And so that does factor in the average volume for NIO in comparison to number of shares being shorted. So it kind of signals that shorts are overextended. Whether that results in a squeeze or not, I'm not really sure. And I think historically as well, on a side note, usually shorts do return leading into NIO's earnings. As I said, there's a little bit of FOMO that normally does happen. So with their earnings coming up right around the corner, you might see shorts start to return and maybe get back to single digit. Might be maybe too much to ask for, but nonetheless, looking at the options, we're seeing 2.3 million in calls, 1.3 in puts, and then 50% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. Coming from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be kind of between that 650 and 7. So a good amount of recovery is anticipated by the end of the week. Then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 6. And given that's pretty much where we are at, there's more upside based on this, but frequency is betting on more downside, if that again makes sense. But based on the options, the expected move for the week of their earnings is roughly 9.65%, and that does work out to be a 57-cent move in either direction. So that's actually gone down considerably. Initially, when I first started to look at this, it was, I think, 13% implied move. And then it went down to 11, 10, and now it's at 9.65. So I don't know if that's maybe a positive thing or not, that we're not expecting as much volatility, something to keep in mind. So far, only 2 transactions on the secondary market above $100,000. Both are buys, and most likely both are larger institutions since the size was 20,000 each. So 120,000 and then 118,000 based on the overall premium. These are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So given how active shorts are, it is fair to assume that all these are linked to them. So dark pool seems to be a very active exchange for today. With it right now at 590, it is trading between this S2 and this S3. So in comparison to a lot of other stocks, growth stocks, NIO definitely is lagging, which is unfortunate, but 544 is going to be a strong support. 611 is going to be that next strong target / resistance. And I think this is why shorts are really hitting NIO hard to avoid NIO getting above this 611. They want to break it on a technical kind of viewpoint. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. Aside from all of that fun stuff, it does appear that the market seems to be recovering, so that's kind of a good thing on a side note. But on NIO's technicals, it is really flirting currently with that 100-day moving average, and this is something I've really signaled as a big deal, and less so I guess than the 50-day moving average, but right now that's going to be an element to really watch for. So that 100-day moving average is sitting at 593. You do need 2 consecutive trading days to really signal a trend. So if it somehow is able to close below that today and obviously tomorrow, then you could see significant consolidation. So just keep that in mind as well. Maybe that could be also one reason why NIO shorts are increasing, to break it below this 100-day moving average. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. But there really hasn't been that much in articles coming out associated to NIO. So it's going through that quiet period, and we already generally know what that means for NIO's stock price. Like, I guess NIO is more of a momentum play that needs to be constantly reminded and updated, updating its shareholders of various things, operational updates, and whenever it goes silent, tend to just consolidate, which is kind of dumb if you think about it. But nonetheless, for those of you that like NIO, I think these quiet periods are good opportunities to potentially buy the dip. So I think it's going to come down to ultimately their earnings. If they give the guidance that they've previously cited about Q4, break even, and just all their very ambitious targets, then you'll see a very nice recovery. If not, you could see some further consolidation. So let me know your general thoughts on NIO. Are you buying? Are you selling? On a side note, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings on a side note or anything, which is rather weird, but still, what's your viewpoint on NIO? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily, day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.